morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn and Gregg Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. I believe now we can say this is allergies and not lingering effects of going outside this weekend. I think we can officially declare that this is the part of the year where, like, it's the air pressure, right? Like, the seasons change. All of a sudden, it's fall for a couple days, and your body's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And then it goes back to summer, and your body's like, whoa. Sorry, system broken. You're like, well, it's just a season change. I feel like you should be able to handle that. And the mucus is like, nah, dude. Like, we're having a party.
I always love the science lessons.
We're having a party. Hey, guess who? So I feel like we're going to have to give me more appropriate credit. Like, a lot of people describe me as a talk show host, a father, play-by-play voice.
Oh, okay. I give you that one.
Columnist.
Yeah.
Fashion icon. Like, there's a lot of ways to describe me. But there's going to have to be a new one. Classical music expert.
Oh, come on.
Classical music expert.
Because you got lucky and said Tchaikovsky.
Guess who won trivia for his team last night by pulling out the final round answer that we needed. We were in first place going in, but we would have been surpassed had I not pulled it out. In a million years, you're not getting this.
It's Beethoven.
In
it's
a
obviously.
million years. Hang on. I wish I would have written down exactly the way that it was. It's the dumbest thing. All right. Hang on.
It is the dumbest thing.
Wait a second. Shut up. This is... Oh, Death, Where Is Your Sting is a song from what 18th century oratoria?
Oratoria?
Yeah.
That was the question.
That was the question.
And another team got it right, too?
Oh, multiple teams got it right. I think 3 got it right.
Wow.
But only one guy at our table. I can tell you the question that it was near the end of what 18th century oratoria.
Oh, okay. That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's in the latter half.
Yeah, now you know that, right? Well, near the end. I don't even think it's in the latter half.
The last third, last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so late 1700s. I mean, yeah, I think I've exerted my knowledge. Beethoven and Tchaikovsky, and
well, you have to name the work. You can't just
name the work.
The artist.
Okay.
Yes, it's the work.
Yeah, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Yeah. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Is that
guess.
Your final answer?
Well, it could be. Yeah, that would be my final.
That's your final answer.
Yeah,
Griffin, you're incorrect. Stunner among stunners. You are not a classical music expert.
Is that what that's what they titled you, too?
I mean, I'm going to have to be. By the way, this is after I had previously gotten an opera final right.
Wow.
And I was the only guy in the bar to get the opera final right. That story, and I told the story last night because a couple of the guys on the team now weren't on the team back then. So the answer to last night,
you got on the trivia.
Everybody was just like, whatever. I don't know. We were like, we're already in the playoffs. We've got our spot locked up. Who cares, right? And I said, well, if we want to take a swing for it, if we want to go for it, here's my guess. My guess would be Handel's Messiah. And the boys looked at me and said, why do you think that? I'm like, well, because it's about Christ, and like the story of Christ, of course, involves him overcoming death. So, oh, death, where is your sting would make sense for Handel's Messiah. And the boys kind of look at me. They're like, do you know what an oratoria is? And I'm like, I don't have an effing clue what an oratoria is. I couldn't, with my life on the line, explain oratoria. Oratorio, whatever it is.
I would think it's just a story.
But
told aloud.
The logic was not flawed. And so the boys said, let's do it. Let's go for it. And sure as hell, Handel's Messiah was the correct answer.
Well,
it was a dramatic moment.
You're right.
It was a dramatic performance.
You know what? You're right. I don't give you a ton of credit. You deserve a little credit for that
Classical
one.
music expert over here, babe.
That's impressive.
Classical music expert. The previous time, years ago, when we had first started playing trivia together, the category for the final question was opera. And I think we were in first. No, we were not in first place this particular night. We were probably 10 points behind, and I was like, well, and I said it out loud to the group. I'm like, I know one opera, and it's Carmina Burana. So unless it's a question about Carmina Burana, I'm out. And sure enough, the question went, O Fortuna is the first overture from which Karl Orff opera? And famously, then they actually played some of it, and then it was like, okay. I mean, I actually knew from just the question, and I started cackling as the question was asked. Famously, this is the one that you always hear in like football highlight videos that goes like, dun, 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 dun. That's Carmina Burana. It's O Fortuna from Carmina Burana by Karl Orff. And so I just started cackling, like just cackling. Everybody in the bar is like looking at me. I'm like, well, and I was the only guy in the entire bar that knew that night.
Well,
Ended up winning. So
add it to the
gonna
resume.
have to go with it. Classical music expert.
Probably need in the email signature.
I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where we go from here, but I'm the guy. I'm your guy. Don't ask me another question because there's no chance I'll get it. But I'm 2 for 2, baby. 2 for Tuesday. All right. Hi, it's Glenn Clark Radio. Oh, what were the sports questions last night? What were they? Oh, right. What Winter Olympic sport, which debuted in Paris in, hang on a second.
Paris is a summer Olympic destination.
Yeah, apparently it was also a Winter Olympic destination. So debuted in Paris in 1924, was previously called Military Patrol.
The sport was called Military Patrol?
Yes.
It debuted in a winter sport that debuted in it's still actively.
It is quite active.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Military Patrol.
I would say this was one of the 3 easiest questions of the night.
Really?
Yes.
Well, now I feel pressure.
Yeah.
Is it like the skiing and shooting one?
The skiing and shoot, is that your final answer?
No,
the
not my
skiing
final.
And shooting
it could
ones?
be, but there's a more eloquent name for it, I'm sure.
I would like to write down the skiing and shooting one.
It was called military.
It was called Military Patrol.
What?
Military Patrol was the name of the sport.
And you got this.
Now I did not know that for what it's worth,
okay,
but it was.
But you knew the answer.
It could not have been easier. It's one of those ones. Sometimes this happens where the answer's so easy that you convince yourself it can't be the answer.
I guess I gotta start naming.
Like the first question tonight was about an Italian herb, and I was like, "Well, it's got to be oregano, right?" Like I don't remember what it was like. It's also known as margarine or something. I'm like, I've never heard that, but like it's an Italian herb. What else would it be besides oregano? And we only wagered 1 point on the question because we were just like, well, it can't just be oregano. Like, that's way too easy. Stupid.
I guess I should start just naming winter sports, rule them out. Not hockey.
We got to guess something for me to be able to rule it out for you. You have to venture a guess.
Well, I'm not even gonna guess hockey. We know it's not. I don't think it's hockey. Well, maybe Military Patrol, 1924.
If you're trying to get something out of me, you're not gonna get anything out of me. I'm not
All right. So on the table we got the skiing and shooting.
The skiing and shooting.
Hockey. I don't think it's curling. Well. This is not helping. I'm not helping myself.
Right.
I don't think.
Glad.
Probably not bobsled.
Somebody asked because we were John. I wanted John to take a picture of the question. So and then I was like, oh, but don't put it in the group text because Griffin's still in that. And he's like, right, from the one time he showed up. And then he said, why doesn't Griffin show up anymore? And I said, well, he lives in Westminster. And he didn't really help.
No, mostly the first thing.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. All right. Military Patrol. All right. Hockey.
It is not hockey. Incorrect.
Probably knew that.
I'll give you 2 more guesses.
Not curling.
It's not curling. But is that a guess? Oh, well, it's son of a bitch. I gave you the answer, so it's
not
a guess.
Not a guess.
No, it's a guess.
Not a guess.
Sorry. Number 3, final guess.
All right. I don't know what the name of the of that sport is, but I'll go with the skiing and shooting.
Well, I don't think it would get you the point.
Okay.
It's called biathlon.
Biathlon.
And it's the easiest answer.
And it is biathlon?
Of course it's biathlon.
So I got it right.
No, you didn't.
I mean,
you needed to know biathlon.
I'm sure we could have put
you couldn't have written
heads together.
Somebody
else was like, I have no idea. And I'm like, well, probably the skiing and shooting one. And they're like, oh, the 2 things. Biathlon. All right, so I get that one.
That is the answer. And then
I didn't get the classical music one, but I
there
get
was
that
a 3-parter about birthdays. Yesterday was 3 people's birthdays. It was the answer number 2. Actress who has starred in the following films: Bridesmaids, This Is 40, The Heat, and The Happy Time Murders.
Sandra Bullock? No.
Melissa McCarthy,
Oh.
obviously. Jesus Christ.
Well, I would have got it if I.
We got this
second guess.
wrong. Religious figure and 1979 Nobel Peace Prize winner born Njeze Gangshe Bajaksiu in 1910 in what is now North Macedonia.
You didn't get that one?
We didn't get that one.
You know,
It was really easy, but we went with the other thing. We went with the Dalai Lama. The answer was Mother Teresa. And number 1, 10-time NBA All-Star who has played for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, the Brooklyn Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Clippers.
Jeez, he's played for a lot. James Harden?
Yeah,
That was his
James
birthday
Harden,
yesterday?
of course.
I missed it.
So those were the sports from trivia last night. All right, there you go. I think that's all I got for today. You guys have a wonderful evening. Or maybe we should hit the man of the match thing.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
Yeah, obviously no man of the match today because there was no game last night. Orioles open up a 3-game set in Los Angeles this evening against the Dodgers. The Orioles aren't good against the National League. They're not really good.
They were okay against the Phillies.
That's the one.
They were one of the best ones, so maybe.
No, you just have to face the
see a
really
correlation,
good
yeah.
National League teams, and then it all comes out. Well, the good news is they get to throw Cole Irvin this evening. Cole Irvin against Jack Flaherty.
And he's definitely not going to have any revenge.
Yeah, not going to be thinking about that at all. That's your pitching matchup for this evening, Orioles and Dodgers out in Los Angeles. More bad news for the Birds. They were hoping they would avoid more serious injuries, but Ryan Mountcastle heads to the injured list. Nice things. Who gets to have nice things? It continues to be very difficult to watch Connor Norby, nearly hit for the cycle. And the Orioles get to have Levon Soto back. So they got that going for them.
He's due.
Is he?
Are
we sure?
He better be.
Are we sure? Levon Soto and Emmanuel Rivera. That's what the Orioles get to have. The Norfolk Tides get to have Trevor Rogers. And the Marlins get to have Connor Norby. So, did you see that Jeff Conine's son is now?
Yeah, he debuted yesterday.
Is he a Griffin? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, strong name on the kid.
Yeah, look at that kid. Does he go by Griffin or Griff?
I saw it. The one tweet I saw was full name Griffin.
Okay.
So.
All right. How about
So
that,
don't be
man?
network
Jeff
shows.
Conine's son is a Marlin. That's crazy. Orioles legend, Jeff Conine. His son is now a Miami Marlin. That's wild, man. My back hurts. Every year at the start of college football season, somebody puts out like a list of all of the players' sons, all of the college football players with dads that were football players, and it just makes your knees hurt so bad. I'm trying to remember. The list included like Edgerrin James' son.
Oh yeah. Well, his son's playing. One of his sons is playing basketball too, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I know Anquan Bolden's son.
I think
is playing
Jizzle
basketball.
James is playing basketball
I'll
for
believe
Cincinnati.
you.
I remember that from last season.
College Sports Only tweeted college football's famous sons for 2024. Of course, Shedeur Sanders, obviously. Rice quarterback E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son. Now, he already
Temple
had a
transfer.
son. Yeah, he already had Cade, who played wide receiver at Kansas State. Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, Dominic's son. I don't really remember Dominic Raiola, so that doesn't really do anything. Marshall quarterback Cole Pennington, Chad Pennington's son, ends up at his dad's alma mater. It should have been a Maryland lacrosse player, UCLA quarterback Henry Hasselbeck, who is Matt Hasselbeck's son, originally committed to Maryland to play lacrosse, and then realized he could be a quarterback, and so he decided.
Where's he at?
UCLA. No, I don't think he's the starter
okay.
this year. Texas San Antonio quarterback Owen McCown is Josh McCown's son, so there's that. Texas A&M running back E.J. Smith is Emmitt Smith's son. Howard running back Eden James is Edgerrin James' son. Texas A&M wide receiver Moose Muhammad III is Mishin Muhammad's son. Michigan State wide receiver Antonio Gates Jr., you'll never guess, Bill Gates' son.
What?
It's great.
Wait. Bill's real name is Antonio?
Bill and Melinda Gates. It's weird how that worked out. Antonio Gates Jr. is apparently wide receiver at Michigan State. Minnesota wide receiver Christian Driver is Donald Driver's son. LSU tight end Mason Taylor is Jason Taylor's son. Nebraska linebacker Willis McGahee the fourth.
Jeez.
That one. I had a buddy who lives in Vegas who was apparently out with Willis McGahee this weekend and was texting me. And I was like, I love Willis McGahee.
Where's he at?
What's that?
What school is that?
It is at Nebraska.
Nebraska. Oh, okay. Let's see him.
Yeah, couldn't get into Miami. That's weird. Washington linebacker Carson Bruner is Mark Bruner's son. Shiloh Sanders, obviously. Tennessee defensive back Christian Harrison, son of Rodney Harrison, star of Sitting in the Back Row at the Comedy Central Roast. Notre Dame safety Kennedy Urlacher. Now, I'll give you a few guesses on this one. Should go with shooting and skiing.
Steve Urlacher's son?
Notre Dame safety Jordan Clark is Ryan Clark's son, and Louisville kicker A.J. Vinatieri, who is, of course, Adam's son. Heck of a list.
I know.
Heck of a list that makes my
Do you think the athlete that were teammates with these guys, the football players who were teammates with them, they're like, man, what did I do wrong with my son that he's not playing? It feels like every single
I don't think that's the case.
player has a son playing college football.
I don't think that's the case. But yeah, that one hit me. Are we going to do the game this week?
Oh yeah, we should.
Today is the
today.
deadline day.
Oh, okay.
For rosters.
Okay.
So let's wait until after today.
Okay.
Maybe we do it Thursday. Yeah, maybe Thursday. We do our first pick segment on Thursday. Jesus Christ.
I'm out, by the way.
Yeah. I'm sure you're out. I got to tell you, man. Like, I understand it's just who we are as a people. Like, there's nothing we like more to do anymore than just not do something. Like, it is our favorite thing in the world to just be like, no. Like, let's just do nothing instead. But my God, dealing with the boys yesterday was out of control. Andrew Stecca thinks he's quitting the league.
Well,
we're
just
sending
dealing
him,
with the one boy, I think.
We're sending him the picks. We are going to force his hand. Now, I think he's still going to try. Here's the problem with Andrew Stecca trying to quit the league. There's no reason for it. That's the issue. Like, if he could come up with some sort of legitimate reason, and he pulled me aside and was like, hey, man, I know we're doing a lot of shtick, but, like, then I would talk to him. Like, I thought he's my friend. But instead, he's just being a baby. That's all it is. I just want to quit. Because that's all we do in this country now. We don't. That's who we are as a people. We just quit things or not do them. Cancel plans. There is nothing that we are better at than making and canceling plans. We make plans purposely knowing we're not doing the thing we're planning. This is a real thing that happens. I'm not pretending like I haven't done it. It's happened. We will make plans knowing that they're never going to occur. And not just like the, hey, we should get together and have a coffee thing that, like, is meaningless. I mean, we will make firm plans. Let's go out to lunch next Tuesday. We will pick a location. We will tell the person about our plans for the rest of the day, knowing damn well we're not going to that lunch. It's a cultural thing. I don't blame Andrew Stecca for that, but I still blame him for this. Now, if he leaves, and I'm still not, like, we're sending him the picks, and we're telling him that we expect him to send the picks back. That's the way that it goes. If he leaves, and even if he doesn't, we have had someone asked to join, someone that I got to know at the old radio station named James Revere, who has been a longtime listener. He would like to be in. He would like to be dealt in. I am fine with that. Either way, he said he doesn't know anything about college football. I said, welcome to the club. None of us. We are going to be picking games. Again,
you join just about everyone.
We know. I'm sure Texas A&M Notre Dame is going to be one of the games this week. We all know Riley Leonard. Name any other player that is playing in that game. Thank you.
Wait.
Thank you.
They all graduated.
Oh, Estime? Is that who you're going to try to come up with?
Well, and then like Cam Hart and
oh, yeah, sure. Kids. Yeah, the guys that we gotten to know over the year. Yeah. So let's be realistic. Let's just be very realistic.
Marcus Freeman.
Not playing in the game.
Well, he'll be on TV, I'm sure.
I'm sure they'll show him, yes. I know that the new Texas A&M coach is Mike Elko. Ironically, that's the plot, right? Like Riley Leonard.
Emmitt Smith's son.
That's true. We did just name that. And we still didn't come up with it, which shows everything we know about college football. That big plot. And Mike Elko, of course, was the coach at Duke. Now he's the coach at Texas A&M. Riley Leonard was his quarterback at Duke. Now he's the quarterback at Notre Dame. How about that? Very interesting, right? We don't know anything about college football, so it's fine. Also, all of you babies about involving John Rollo in this. What? Are you new here? How many times has someone actually finished all of the penalty that they had? How many times has that ever happened? We always do, like, some of it, most of it, whatever we can do. We're showmen here. Just man babies. All of them. Ken's, I don't want to do that. John Proctor. Well, man, even if he doesn't take it seriously, it'll still hurt. Like, dude, you're going to take us. Do you think that I'm going to have John Rollo come in here and murder all of us? Really?
Maybe.
No. Well,
I don't know if
Andrew Stecca, maybe.
Yeah. If he loses.
Maybe. Even if he doesn't. Whenever he's here next, I'm going to call John Rollo and tell him to come over here. Stecca thinks he just has free reign to walk in anymore. No.
Have John Rollo speed dial.
You quit the
here.
league. Yeah, you get a penalty. That's the way that it works. You get John Rollo's going to give you 10 strikes. That's the way that this game is played. So babies, I will still, if you want to be dealt into the table, it's very simple. $25 is the buy-in. We'll get to that. There's still people we haven't heard back from. Have we heard from Kyle at all? We heard from him the first time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've talked to
I've
Kyle.
talked to him individually.
What about Ryan Schell?
He also individually. He said he's
right,
in.
We're good.
Yeah.
But do they know the penalties?
I mean, they have their own text chain. Yeah.
I know, but like they went suspiciously quiet.
They're on their phones, I'm sure.
We actually saw Kyle recently.
Yeah.
So
we know he's alive.
Got proof of life on Kyle. Nick Kelly, not so much.
I
know what's going on. I'm worried about Nick Kelly. I love Nick Kelly. It's one of my favorite humans on the face of the planet. I need Nick Kelly to give me proof of life. I think I saw maybe somewhere on social media that he was like on vacation overseas or something. I don't know. But that was some time ago. I got to figure out what's going on with Nick Kelly. I sent him an email. We'll see what happens there. If you still want to be dealt in, Picks League. And are we closer to nailing down a date for Jeremy? That was your assignment yesterday.
Yeah, I don't have a date yet, but yes, probably that week before the NFL season.
But it would have to be Tuesday then.
Because we're doing the draft on.
What do you mean?
Doing the press box fantasy draft, right? We're doing one of those days.
Oh yeah, we are doing. But you got to figure that out.
Okay.
But remember, he said he couldn't do Monday. There's certain days he couldn't do because he had basket weaving class or something. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But you got it. I'm telling. We're getting closer. We've agreed to let him do the YouTube thing. Does he understand he has to provide video?
Yes.
And not just the video that he normally sends me at night of that other thing that he does. But, you know.
He said on top of that, yeah.
Okay. So 2 video.
Yeah.
So he's going to do that. He's going to do he's going to take a YouTube Irish dance lesson.
Yes.
He's going to send video to prove it.
Do we need to order the
you need to work with him, ask him if he
the Fighting Irish mascot.
That's what I'm saying. You coordinate with him.
Okay.
Get all the details taken care of. You're the producer. I know that's a new role for you. We're moving you we're giving you a new title. Producer. I don't know how you feel about it. Do you think you're ready? Yeah, I know.
Is it?
I know.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I could do the bit that Jeremy was talking about yesterday where I just say, this moron, this idiot over here. I could do that, but I feel like I'm a better man than that. That's the job. The job does, you have to produce. It's not just guest booking, which I appreciate. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes. We had a guest. We had Tim Kirkson yesterday. It was lovely. Today we've got lovely people that are joining.
Not a fan of
No, today's fine.
Okay.
Today is fine. I wouldn't say they're A's, but they're good guests. Right. Speaking of,
make sure you introduce them that way.
Are we running late? Was one of them at 10:20?
No, 15 minutes from now.
Oh, 10:40.
Yes.
Okay, we got plenty of time. Is what you're saying? I got lots of time. I got to kill.
Yeah.
Is what you're really saying.
Yeah, keep telling me what I need to
do. See, this is where you should say, and your job is to be the host. When I do produce the show, you need to be prepared.
And you got scared. You were like,
I did. I looked down. I was like, holy crap, it's 10:25. Weren't we supposed to be talking to Mike Sando from The Athletic? And Griffin was like, no.
No, we'll be talking to him second, by the way, as well.
Okay. Yeah. I'm all over it. I am killing it.
You get one classical music question right.
And that's who I am now. I have no ability to host a talk show anymore. I'm just the classical music guy. All right, so I want answers. All right, I want answers. I want dates. I want you to have talked to Tim. Tim was texting me. I can't be involved with that. It's too much. I don't know if you heard. I got classical music stuff going on. I'm back at school. It's a whole thing.
How's your first week of school?
Not great.
No?
Oh, apparently I've already screwed up the first assignment.
Oh, jeez.
I swear to God. She's even followed up with me like, hey, as long as you go back and I'm looking I'm like, I don't know where to find this.
When was the last time you were
Took a class?
Yeah.
2005?
Wow. Okay.
So 20 years?
Yeah.
Basically 20 years.
And that was that at like UMBC or
Maryland?
That was Maryland.
Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that was right before you went out to
Arizona. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess maybe 2006 is the correct answer because I do still think I continued with it was then known as University of Maryland University College.
Got it. UMUC.
Yeah.
No, it's
GC, UMBC, University of Maryland Global Campus. I might have still taken a class. No, I don't think I did take a class. I think I had fully moved on by the time I got to Arizona. I've gone back and looked 3 times. She's like, okay, go here, and then if you download this, it should have the right. I'm like, okay, well,
Blackboard
I did an essay. It's not Blackboard. It's their own internal thing.
Okay.
Like, I did the essay as part of the assignment, and it says here that I did all of the assignment. She's like, right, but you also need the essay. I'm like, but the essay was part of it, and it says, what? Am I going crazy?
So you have to like submit something separate?
And that's the thing. That's the way I worded it. I sent. Oh my God, man! I think I'm losing my mind. This poor lady. She seems wonderful. The doctor. We'll see you now. Hang on a second.
But you did the assignment. You just don't know if you turned it in.
Well,
officially,
I know
correctly.
the assignment was graded. Like the totality of the assignment was graded, but I was missing 20 points from the grade. And she messaged me and said, hey, you're missing, the essay's not there. And I was like, I know I did an essay as part. I know I did it. So I emailed. I said, hi, Dr. McCann. Oh, I don't want to give her name. Hi, doctor.
Probably a good doctor.
Yeah, it's the good doctor. I have to apologize. I'm a little confused about the essay portion of the assignment. Was it an addition, or was it the same as the writing assessment within the assignment? Thanks for working with me. And I get back. It is linked to the writing assessment, but it will display with the summary. I'm like, what? What does any of this mean? At some point, I'm just telling you, you're going to be taken over.
Okay. You just try to email her.
This is the way
maybe?
it's going to go.
She's not
I'm way too old for all of this. I am a dinosaur trying to figure out how this works. I think I did the assignment. I'm pretty sure. I'm reasonably certain. But I don't know how to find it to prove that I did the assignment, and I just trusted that this internal system would prove that I did the assignment.
Got it. So you were typing it all on the on their thing. Okay.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah, that's scary.
She's being very nice.
I guess.
She's like, once you come up with it, I'll give you the points. I'm like, right, I get it, but like, how do I come up with it? I'm a dinosaur.
May need to do everything in like Word or Google Docs or something.
Well, the problem is I have been, but it's Word online. Like there's they give you a free access to Office for being
Microsoft Office.
a student. Hate it here. I just hate it here. Why did I do this? I'm too old for this. I'm getting too old for this.
So that you could continue to broaden your.
What movie? I'm getting too old for this. What movie?
Probably say that in a lot of movies.
Well, yeah,
Jaws.
Really? Really?
I mean, there's possible that that's a line of dialogue in that movie.
Lethal Weapon.
Oh, really? I haven't seen Lethal Weapon. I know I should.
Put it on your list.
Just
put it on your list. Anything else that we need to talk about? Yes, the Ravens have to get down to 53 players today. All NFL teams have to get down to 53 players today. If there was a surprise yesterday, you would say that Pepe Williams would be the surprise that has already been cut. I don't know what to make of that. I think that someone might say that would be encouraging for the chances of perhaps Arthur Millette not being on IR to start the season. I don't know anything about that. As you might have heard, we will be launching the Arthur Millette Show 2 weeks from tonight. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. Looking forward to the inaugural edition of the Arthur Millette Show. You can find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. All season long, we will be going around town with cornerback Arthur Millette. He'll be bringing out special guests. We'll be having a lot of fun. You'll be able to watch the show live. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. We'll be airing the segments here on GCR, and then Friday nights you'll be able to hear it on 105.7 The Fan, the Arthur Millette Show, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. Again, join us 2 weeks from tonight, September 10th, at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill for the inaugural edition of the Arthur Millette Show. So that's the first thought that I had when I saw that Pepe Williams was released, is that like that might be perhaps like they need that roster spot because they're not planning on putting Arthur Millette on IR. Other people would say maybe that's like Bo Braid, the Maryland alum, undrafted free agent. They want to have him on the roster, and so in order to have him on the roster, but like Pepe Williams is a special teams player. Like Pepe Williams is a guy that has had a role.
They had him returning kicks all preseason.
Well, they had a lot of guys returning. Like, they threw a ton of guys back there. I don't know who they were doing in the games because I didn't watch the games. But, like, when I was out there, I was getting some answers, and they were like, yeah, like, everybody assumed it's Deontay Hardy because, like, we assume it's Deontay Hardy, but they've been throwing a ton of guys into those roles. So it's a mild surprise if there was anything. Everybody else.
I guess you want to figure who you can pair with Hardy, so that way you have two guys on the new kickoff that you can.
Maybe. I don't know.
But why wouldn't it be Tylan Wallace?
I don't. Yeah, I think everybody's assuming that Tylan Wallace is on the team at this point. I didn't think that was guaranteed coming in to camp. And in fact, this is always the tricky part, right? Like, he made a big play in the Packers game, but like, is it a good thing that he was on the field in the Packers game? Like, that's the type of stuff you try to dissect. Like, wow, he made that play. He's gonna be on the team. Well, or was him being out there a signal that he wasn't going to be on the team? Like, I just never know how to read into these things. It's not going to be Russell Gage, but Russell Gage was never really on the field during it was a struggle for him to just practice. So there was never a problem with bringing in Russell Gage, but it just didn't work out. Russell Gage isn't going to be on the team. Anthony Miller is a really interesting one because everybody would tell you he looked good, like, all throughout camp. Now, you would think he should look good. He's an NFL veteran, right? Like, out there in circumstances where perhaps he's up against guys that aren't NFL players. Like, he damn well better look good in those spots. But is there a roster spot for him? I don't know. If Tylan Wallace makes the team, it's hard to vision that there's a roster spot for him. But what if they aren't committed to Deontay Hardy? What if, like, they say if Tylan Wallace is going to be on the team, he's going to have to be the returner? I just don't know. It will be interesting to see what they end up doing. I think Tylan Wallace makes the team. I don't know. And are any of these guys that they're cutting to try to bring back after they make more moves tomorrow? And then what else? Like, John Harbaugh was asked about Rasheen Ali yesterday, and he seemed very non-committal about the idea that, like, we'll have to see what's out there.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, what the Broncos said, Perine's available.
Yeah, I can't imagine trading for a running back. Like, that seems bonkers to me.
Would you have traded for Malik Willis?
A lot of people brought that up because it was a 7th-round pick.
Yes.
I got to be honest with you, man. Like, I get the thought. I'm not so confident that Malik Willis is definitively better than Josh Johnson. Like, do I think there's a bigger upside? Probably. But definitively that he would definitely be a better bet to have to play for 3 weeks than Josh Johnson? I can't say that. So that's the really tricky part about this conversation is you're really looking for something uber specific. Like Taylor Heineke definitively to me is an upgrade as a backup quarterback over Josh Johnson. Malik Willis, maybe that's an upgrade. But that's as far as I can go with this, maybe. So I'm not giving up any draft capital for somebody that I don't know definitively is an upgrade. I'm not nonplussed.
The Cowboys brought in Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, not only did they bring in Dalvin Cook, our old friend Tyus Bowser is meeting with the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't like the Dallas Cowboys, but I would have no choice but to root for Ty as a Dallas Cowboy.
Well, they don't play them. Yeah, they don't. Do they play the Cowboys?
Yeah, they play this
They
year.
do? Oh, that's right. They play the East. Okay.
Yeah, they play this year. So they play in Dallas, correct? I believe they play in Dallas.
I don't know.
So, we will continue to monitor that, and if there is relevant news during the course of the day, we'll react to it.
That's right. It's in Dallas with, I think, Tom Brady on the call.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, he'll be on the call. It's a Cowboys game, so it will be one of the – it'll either be, if it's a CBS game, it'll definitely be – if it's Fox game, it'll definitely be Tom Brady.
I thought it was one of the that they announced months ago.
Oh, did they?
I thought it was. I could be wrong, but
all right, we'll monitor that throughout the course of the day. We will talk some football. As I mentioned, coming up a little bit later on, we'll continue Fantasy Week. We're coming up when we come back, we'll continue Fantasy Week with our buddy Bob Harris, SiriusXM and Football Diehards. Later on in the program, Mike Sando from The Athletic. He just did his annual quarterback tiers. Lamar Jackson, Tier 2. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen in Tier 1. Now, this is not his opinion. This is his survey. We'll talk about that. And also later on in the program, my buddy Gregg Rosenthal, NFL Network, NFL.com. We'll talk some Ravens, and obviously we'll talk about the U.S. Open, and everybody will need to get quiet at 11 o'clock. So that's what's on the program today. Continue Fantasy Week next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
We've all experienced it before. The fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named Lamar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party, complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where Every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group. Where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season. Where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door. Where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed it, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together yesterday to talk some baseball. You can find that show right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Every Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball at PressBox's Facebook page and those other locations if you miss it live. So make sure you go check that out right now. All right, this, of course, as I say, if you're doing your fantasy draft before Labor Day weekend, you're doing it wrong. And so this is, to me, Fantasy Week. And so we have committed that every day this week we're going to talk to one of our favorite fantasy football guests. And our next guest is one of my favorites. You, of course, hear him on SiriusXM's Fantasy Channel. He is part of the Football Guys Fantasy Football, and I assume that he is doing this segment without pants on. He is our buddy Bob Harris, and he's back with us here on GCR. Bob, it's Glenn. It's been too long. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, it has been way too long since I've had a pantless party with you, so I'm eager to get this show rolling.
My guy. Man, it's good to hear from you, dude. Bob, I've got so much that I want to dive into, and I'll begin with, because it's the most fascinating, is I've done some mock drafts last week. The quarterback position to me is so deep that, like, even when I see Josh Allen go off in the third round, I say to myself, why? Like, what are we doing here? Right. Jared Goff is available in, like, the 14th round. What is happening here? How deep is the quarterback position? Where would you start thinking about the top guys? And really, does it just make way more sense to just, like, wait and continue to draft other positions and know there's still incredible – Aaron Rodgers isn't getting drafted, and I don't know that that's going to work out for you, but, like, that's crazy to me, man.
This is like a really unique year, and I think it gives us a lot of flexibility to approach this in various ways, right? Like, so – you mentioned, like, the guys that are going outside the top 12, the listed, I mean, like Jared Goff, you mentioned, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was quarterback 4 when he went down last year in Week 8. He's got 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns a year. He's going into a similar offense that he's run since Washington, and he's got a great array of weapons. Matthew Stafford also has an array of weapons, I'm told. Aaron Rodgers, as you mentioned, Baker Mayfield, more than serviceable last year. Geno Smith in this new Ryan Grubb offense, where they're actually going to run plays at like a pro rate. Like, they're, like, if nothing else, even if you think, like, oh, well, the pass rate isn't going to be as vast as you want in Seattle, I think it will be. They're just going to run more plays. That hasn't been the forte. And Will Levis, everyone's excited about. I mean, there's an array of players available late. So what that does for me, Glenn, is it lets me take some chances on what I think are some lottery ticket style players. If you want to burn a 5th round pick on Anthony Richardson, I know it's risky, but it doesn't matter because there's this reservoir, this deep pool of really solid talent available late. So I do like taking, like, he's kind of fallen down to the 6th round. If you go back to last year, Glenn, we have a 4-game sample. It's small, right? And like, I'm readily acknowledging this. This is a risky play, but it's also like if you walk into the store and you're saying, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. Do you buy the one that wins you $20,000 or $50,000, or do you buy the $1 million winner, right? So you look at Richardson, 4 games, 2 top 5 finishes. But the key thing, Tristan Cockcroft from ESPN had this stat, 0.45 fantasy points per snap last year. The next guy, Josh Allen, 0.36. So you can see there's the possibility of separation. Is that worth it? So depending on how you build your team, maybe you think that's worth a risk. If not, maybe you wait a little later and go to Kyler Murray, who has a legitimate path to the 4,000 passing yards and 500 rushing yards that would set him apart. The Rich Rebar, Konami code type quarterback. And if you want to wait a little later, Jaden Daniels available close to the double-digit rounds, 9 or 10. Go ahead and take that play. But with all those guys, you understand that there's possibility things go south, and that's why you have you just tap a second quarterback in this case. And, like that entire list of guys are perfectly viable starters that we just talked about before we talked about the high end guys.
I've been doing a lot of the Jaden Daniels and then around later Jared Goff, right? Like I've been doing a lot of that as I've been doing these mock drafts. The other position that's intriguing to me is because I found it the opposite way. Like I kept thinking to myself, oh, there's so much depth at tight end now, unlike 2 years ago that I think I'm good. But where is the drop-off? Like, where is the point where, like, this guy comes off the board, you better go ahead and scramble and take Kyle Pitts or take Evan Ingram. If you've been waiting, get that guy, because it does feel like after, like, the 7th tight end, there really is a drop to that next group.
I think you actually, like, almost hit my magic number, right? So whatever order you like them in, Laporta, Kelsey, McBride, Andrews, I like them not in that order, by the way. Dalton Kincaid, not in that order. Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Evan Ingram, and then you get to Jake Ferguson as kind of like the firewall player going, hey, right? Like, I better be doing something, or maybe it's time to punt. But those, that top handful of guys, I probably, I think Evan Ingram's the value of that group, and he falls outside the top 7 in current ADP. So I'm getting a lot of him. But if you make it past there, it's perfectly fine to punt until late and take chances on guys that are going to have good roles. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. He likes his tight end. Tyler Conklin, you get him in the double-digit rounds, maybe a last-round pick, right? There's plenty of guys. I think the overlooked guy here is Taysom Hill. If he's tight end eligible in your league, if you've drafted one of those guys early that you want to have, that you think is going to play almost every week, and you need a guy that can come in any week and give you a pretty high floor, it's probably Taysom Hill. A little bit of a crapshoot, but he was quarterback. He was tight end 12 last year. I mean, volume matters. He's playing quarterback. He's playing running back. He's playing fullback now, play a little wide receiver. The only tight end over the last 2 seasons with more opportunities and more touchdowns in goal-to-go situations is a guy named Travis Kelce. Another guy that you're getting way too late is Isaiah Likely. Like, if you draft Mark Andrews early, there's an argument to be made for burning a late-round pick on Isaiah Likely, who could be a standalone play. I don't know what you guys are seeing there, but we're hearing out here in the rest of the world that he's very good.
No, he's outstanding.
And we'll see a very decent. But the contingent upside there, if something were to happen to Andrews, you might have the best player at his position in the league, or certainly a top 5. So a lot to like at the tight end if you punt, but I definitely want one of those early guys. I'm willing to buy into it and even go with Kyle Pitts based on Kirk Cousins' long track record of success with lesser talented or equally talented tight ends, but also lesser talented tight ends. He's been a monster for the tight end position, and I'm told that Kyle Pitts has not benefited from great quarterback play up to this point.
Not even good quarterback, not even mediocre quarterback play to this point. He is Bob Harris, SiriusXM Fantasy Channel. He is with us here on GCR for Fantasy Week. All right, Bob. So I will tell you that, and Griffin and I have done this exercise a couple times on air. I am a little surprised that Derrick Henry isn't rated a bit more highly. And I say that in part because, I understand that Derrick Henry's getting up there in age, and I understand that Lamar Jackson still exists, but Gus Edwards had 13 rushing touchdowns a season ago. And I don't think the Ravens are taking Derrick Henry off the field in goal-to-go and short yardage situations. I don't think it's going to get 300 carries. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but I'm just a bit surprised that Derrick Henry is ranked below some of the guys that he's ranked and is seen as more of like a third-round guy than, to me, where I'd be comfortable taking him midway through the second round.
I am comfortable taking him at the turn of the second round. So number one, I am quite old, so I have an affinity for these older players. I like Mike Evans too this year. But Derrick Henry, 541 carries last year in Baltimore. You think he's not going to get the vast majority of those?
Right.
Behind a much better offensive line. I know the Football Guys offensive line rankings have Baltimore ranked 6th. Tennessee was not that good last year. By the way, if you think he's getting old, he is, but also he had the 6th highest breakaway rate in the NFL last year. That superpower that sets him apart from the other big backs is that breakaway ability. He had the 7th fastest speed in the NFL per next-gen stats last year. There is no way I'm not hammering him, and I do have him ranked a bit higher than the field, so I should go ahead and acknowledge that.
Thank you. I knew this is why I like you, because it just made no sense to me where I was saying Derrick Henry. I'll tell you the other guy, too, that Green Bay went out and got, or sorry, the other way around. Green Bay went out and got Josh Jacobs. Like, I get that Josh Jacobs was disappointing a season ago. I understand that. But, like, they I know A.J. Dillon exists, but they wanted Josh Jacobs. It just seems very surprising to me that he wouldn't be a more focal point of that offense.
Right. You see, Marshawn Lloyd now sounds like he'll start the season maybe on IR. There's issues there. I don't know I don't have huge expectations for A.J. Dillon at this point. But if nothing else, what have we learned over the course of time? The NFL is very volatile, especially early on. So what do you count on with running backs? You count on volume. Anticipated volume here is going to be huge. And I think him having the role of the passing attack, I think he's a better receiver than people give him credit for, or at least a capable enough receiver. I know he doesn't have a receiving touchdown. Jordan Love vows to change that this year. But I think the heavy usage is going to dictate a very solid season for a guy that you're getting at a pretty good price right now.
He is Bob Harris. He's with us here on GCR. So, Bob, where between running back and wide receiver, give me some of the other value guys for you, guys that you look at and say, where they're being drafted, where they're rated, you can get serious value if you can hang on and get this guy later on in the draft.
Yeah, I think there's a number of guys I'm targeting later. I think Alvin Kamara is going criminally late. I know he's also getting older, but the new offense coming in, like, what are we looking for when we want the running backs? I mentioned the volume. Who is the poster child for that? It's Christian McCaffrey, who led the NFL in touches last year, second in carries behind Henry, gets lots of receptions. So we're looking for where that offense is propagating to. Now we have Clint Kubiak, who was involved in that coaching staff last year in San Francisco, moving on to New Orleans. And so you have Alvin Kamara last year in the games he was on the field, I think from week 4 on, was a top 10 running back. I know it didn't seem like it, but he was. So he's a guy I'm looking to land. Amari Cooper seems like he always goes way later than he should. He cobbles it together regardless of quarterback. But some guys that I think you could take a little chance on, or that maybe feel like you're taking a chance on, that have super high upside. I love making those plays. And that would be a couple wide receivers that I really like are Christian Watson. I believe in the science, people. Believe the scientists. They say they fixed the hamstring. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But that's true wide receiver one upside. We've seen it for stretches. The 7-touchdown, 4-game stretch as a rookie. We saw a good stretch last year. He's got a very good quarterback in a super offense. There's a lot of talented guys there. But if he hits and he stays on the field, I think Christian Watson's going to way outperform his wide receiver 4 drafted this year. Get him in in round 9. And the same thing with Jamison Williams this year, especially if you're out there grabbing Jared Goff. If he gets 5 targets a game, what's the average depth of those targets going to be? Probably well down the field. If nothing else, having a few shots at the end zone every week wouldn't hurt me. And again, it's at a nice round price. If we're looking at running backs, I think some of the guys I liked early on are growing in value and people are catching on to him. Chase Brown's a guy that's becoming increasingly popular. Looks like a 50-50 split, but he's got the speed and all the analytics people love him because of that speed. Second fastest speed in the NFL last year.
Because I am enamored, like everybody else, with Chase Brown. Where do you take him? Like what's appropriate?
He's running back 35 right now. I think if you can get him right about round 9, if you want to step up into round 8, I think depending on who you're drafting with, the people I draft with, you're going to have to step up a little bit. I think round 8 or 9 is appropriate in a home league. You might last till 10, but if you want to make sure you get him, step up. And one of my darlings this year is Jaleel McLaughlin. And I know Javonte Williams is kind of rehabilitated from his OTA and minicamp stance. So nobody liked him. He was overweight. He showed up and heard all the criticism, and he is going to be the lead back. But when has Sean Payton not had? We can go back to Darren Sproles. If we're opening the history books, he's always had this receiving asset in his backfield that he likes to lean on. Jaleel McLaughlin's going in round 13 or 14. I think he's going to have a legitimate weekly role and a kind of guy that if you have injuries or other attrition, maybe he can be a plug and play just about any week. I think Gus Edwards, by the way, is going later than he should. You mentioned him earlier. Yeah. Whether you like him or J.K. Dobbins, even later, they're going to run the ball a ton. You guys are well aware of that. With the coaching combo they have there. So I think that those guys are viable plays as well.
I think I just in a mock took J.K. Dobbins in the 13th round. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And of course that means he'll get hurt in week 2. But that's the way that it goes. That's the way things are.
So I think it's fine to be you know me, Glenn. I'm injury agnostic. I'm not stupid. There's a difference between chronically injured and chronic injuries. He has been chronically injured, but a lot of this is just bad luck, and the NFL is a collision sport, right? And running back is the one who takes the most collisions every game. So I'm willing to take some chances on guys. Hope their luck straightens out. But the key to taking chances is taking them at the right price, and I think the price you mentioned is good.
All right, and then speaking of injuries, anybody else that, like, your brain is just shut off and stopped thinking about because they're hurt, but you should be thinking, like, be the guy that everybody else is like, oh, I forgot about him late in the draft.
So I think I'm I'm not out on anybody. Everybody at the right price. I don't know that guys like Nick Chubb and T.J. Hawkinson are going at the right price. I think people are over optimistic about them. Jonathan Brooks is one that I will be all in on, and I think the problem there is the rest of the world's kind of all in on him as well. You're not getting the great discount. He's going to miss 4 games. He's going as like running back 29 though, so he is outside the top 2 range. Probably getting him in round 8 or 9, maybe 8. I think he's a guy, the Carolina rookie, second round pick, first running back off the board this year. We've seen this movie before where rookie running backs get the ACL middle of last year. They're young, they come in, they get the slow start, and then they close out strong second half of the season. I would count on Jonathan Brooks to do that.
I still also think that gives you some value on Chuba Hubbard too, right? Like
it does, early value, and like how do you build your roster? Sometimes, you can figure out putting together a jigsaw puzzle. I have this guy who's not going to come on until late in the season, I don't think. Well, Chuba Hubbard can carry me early in the season, or at least get a significant enough workload that I can manage to get by until the guy I'm after gets in. And of course, Chuba Hubbard at a super reasonable price.
Yeah, I like the sounds of it. Bob, what all can I plug for you, my friends?
You can plug my daily update podcast, 10 minutes of fantasy-focused NFL news every morning at 5:30 a.m. Yes, I'm up early grinding, bringing people.
Psycho.
And all my content at Football Guys, listen to me. I'll be on, once we get into next week, pretty much every single day on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, and Saturdays on SiriusXM NFL Radio for 3 hours of a big simulcast. Pre-game show on Sunday with Jeff Mans. Tons going on, but me and Dempsey will be doing our thing every night, and you don't want to miss that because Dempsey is worth the price of admission alone.
My man. I love him, too. Of course, at Football Diehard is how you follow him on Twitter. Bob Harris, I promise we won't go this long without chatting, my friend. You can put your pants back on now. Thank you, as always, taking the time for us, dude.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate you.
Bob Harris with us here on GCR. Again, all week this week. Fantasy football every day to try to get you ready for your fantasy football draft, which, if you're smart, you'll be hosting at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Last night we were chatting about it. I'm in a league with our friend Ryan Ripken, and going through that hell right now. Oh, when can everybody do? Stop! You're trying too hard with these people in your life. It's like dealing with Andrew Stetka. Stop. Just say, this is what we're doing. Forget it. Say, I will see you guys on Sunday. I have gone to PressBoxOnline.com/social. I have booked our fantasy football draft. We will be doing it Sunday or Saturday or Monday, whenever you want to do it, inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, because we're going to have our choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, plus drinks, plus the fantasy draft kits, plus the trophy for the winner of the league, plus you get a nice $75 gift card tip. Again, you can just keep that between you and I. You don't have to tell the rest of the gang about that. That can just be your little surprise. $75 gift card for the commissioner as a nice tip for organizing everything. PressBoxOnline.com/social. This weekend, you're going to want to be watching the games, and you're going to be hanging out. You're going to want to watch baseball. You're going to want to watch all the college football. You're going to want to watch the U.S. Open. So do the draft inside Sports and Social so you can do all of these things at once. PressBoxOnline.com/social in order to find out more and in order to get your draft taken care of. PressBoxOnline.com/social is the way to do it. All right, hour number 1 of today's program is in the books. Coming up in just a second, our friend Mike Sando from The Athletic will join us. I did get a message from Dawn. Dawn said, Glenn, are you guys bringing back Project Game Day? I feel like you've mentioned it. Enjoyed hanging out with you, and is the entire crew going to be part of it? Thank you, Don. Yeah, Project Game Day will return. I guess we should put some imaging together and start doing some promotions. Got a lot going on right now. I don't know if you heard. Trying to coordinate punishments, trying to talk Andrew Stecca off the ledge, trying to go to class, just a lot happening. Just found out I got to go to Indianapolis for a weekend. Ugh. I'm excited. I appreciate it. It's for a great event, but it's Indianapolis. We got a lot going on. A lot happening. I say that all to say we will be doing Project Game Day after every game this season. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ. I assume our buddy Josh Charles will be hopping on with us for most of the year. I think maybe Andrew Stecca. Maybe. I don't know what to make of that guy. I don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, we'll be doing it all year. PressBoxOnline.com/gameday. But subscribe, like, YouTube, Facebook. We'll be in all those locations. We'll be doing it, starting with the Chiefs game. Never do it for the preseason. And Femi's going to be part of our show as well all season long, and I'm working on what that's going to look like. I think he's going to be helping you with betting this season. So I'm looking forward to that on top of it. But Project Game Day unquestionably will be back. We will be doing it every game day this season. That is a promise starting next Thursday night. The Thursday night thing also really screwing with us because it sort of makes everything have to move a little bit quicker when in past years we have the entirety of next week to ramp up for the start of the season. Now we got to move things up by 3 days. And it's an early Labor Day this year. A lot of things going on. It's a lot happening. One of the things that's happening, always enjoy chatting with this guy when his quarterback tiers piece comes out every year. And, of course, you guys were very reasonable about Lamar Jackson being in Tier 2, which, as you know, is not his opinion. It's the opinions of the folks around the league that he talks to. He covers the NFL for The Athletic. He has a friend, Mike Sando, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Mike, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Absolutely. Lamar Jackson coming in 4th overall. That's the best for him. And he was 3 votes away from Tier 1. So he definitely gained a lot of momentum this last year. I think I wrote in there that he had more Tier 1 votes this year than he had in the last several combined.
So
because he really took a step as a passer.
So let's talk about it, right? It's interesting to me, Mike, because I admittedly still get confused about the people that still think there's something for Lamar Jackson to prove, right? Like, it's obviously like the playoff thing exists, right? But like, you know, the other 2 guys in Tier 1 aren't guys that have won Super Bowls either, right? What is it that when you talk to folks around the league, they still want to see from Lamar Jackson before they acknowledge him as being in the top echelon of NFL quarterbacks?
I think people think he's in the top echelon of NFL quarterbacks, but to be a Tier 1 quarterback, you have to expertly handle the pure pass situation. So what does it look like when they have to pass? When you strip away the top 5 defense and you take away the running game, which happens when you're trailing Kansas City in the playoffs or when you're a lot of times playing against those top teams in a playoff game, that part gets stripped away. So what does it look like? Are you in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes where you're just going toe-to-toe and you're really, throwing it all over the yard? You just come up a little bit short? Or do you get into some of those situations and it kind of looks rough? And I think they've had enough of those over the years, certainly in some of those playoff games where I think they're 2-4 when he starts, and I think his passer rating 75, something like that, that for some of the voters who want to put him in Tier 2, that would be what it is. And so I have talked to, I don't come up with the criteria myself, I've developed it over 10 years. Hey, should the criteria be changed because is the pure pass component of this, meaning how do you do it when you have to pass, not when you want to pass? Should that be waived? And people say no, it shouldn't. But still some people said, you know what, I'm putting him in Tier 1 anyway, and that's why he's only behind those 3 other guys.
I feel like that's interesting to me, right? Like, does the measurement not credit enough the skill that no one else has? And Josh Allen certainly has quite a running ability. Not like, does it not give enough credit to right? But this guy is better at this other thing than not just all the other guys he's rated against, but literally any quarterback perhaps in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you wanted to vote and say that it does for you, you could do that. And I think that 23 people did that of the 50 that did that. So, I think it's fine to differentiate though, that and say that when you have to pass the football is when playing quarterback is the hardest, right? That's when it's the hardest.
I think that it's an easy way to say. I guess here's what I can't shake, because we have seen maybe some moments where that was struggle. We've also seen obviously some really great moments when Lamar Jackson had to pass the football, right? Like the Monday night Cleveland game, the comeback against Indianapolis, the shootout that he did win against Patrick Mahomes some years ago, right? Like I wonder if the question is, should there be more credit for not being in those positions, right? Like that seems to be more of the story of Lamar Jackson's career, is that how rare it's ever been. And yes, we can say that there have been good defenses and that they've had a running game, but a lot of it has fallen on Lamar Jackson. How rare he's ever been behind the eight ball, how rare it's ever been that he's made mistakes early on in games that teams were struggling and that he had to play from those behind situations.
No doubt, but if we take all of the quarterbacks who played a significant amount of time over the last 5 or 10 years, he's going to be number one in the combined defense and special teams performance of his team, and guys like Justin Herbert will be last. And so when you look at those two guys that are 4th and 5th in this poll, Lamar's 4, Herbert's 5. Justin Herbert is like a 24-27 record, something like that, with a bottom 5 defense special teams component. And Lamar Jackson is whatever he is, 75% wins, probably 80% wins, with like a number 1 or 2 in the league over that time. And so what you have to do when you look at these things is say, how much do those components factor in? I think it's good. I think it's good that Lamar's above Herbert, Stafford. He's even ahead of Aaron Rodgers this year. And I wouldn't have a problem with him being in tier 1, but I can see why it's a dilemma for people who are in the game and know how difficult it is to try to win the game when you can't play downhill with your defense and special teams playing great and your run game being a factor, because a quarterback still gets reduced to having to pass when it's difficult situations. And I think everybody thought Lamar Jackson showed great strides as a passer last week. I don't really see this as a negative of where he's at. If he was 12th in this thing and people were holding it against him, that would different story.
Yeah, that would be absurd.
But he's a top 5 quarterback according to this, and I think that's fine.
He is Mike Sando from The Athletic. He is with us here on GCR. Mike, I think you're right about that. I do still think that, like, I think it becomes unique. I think, like, most of us could say, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. He might be the best quarterback in the history of football, right? Like, my God. I think it really does get into, and I know that some other folks at the Athletic had fun with it yesterday. Like, it's uniquely maybe like the Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson comparison, where, like, Josh Allen regularly throws the ball to the other team. Like, that happens constantly. And I think that's maybe where it becomes a bit surprising. And I think the other part that's tough, and I'm sure you can understand some of the sensitivity that's felt for people in Baltimore, it has always felt like the preconceived notions and biases, not even maybe uniquely about Lamar, but about the quarterback position, about the concept of running quarterbacks. It just feels like there have been folks that have been unwilling to shake this, that have just decided at some point, I never want to see my quarterback run because I'm convinced that he's going to get hurt, despite the fact that there's such overwhelming data that is not a greater risk for a running quarterback. I know it's difficult to get into the psyche of the people that you're talking to, but is there any thought that perhaps preconceived notions or biases play a role in how these guys are graded?
I think that the league's never been more open and embracing of quarterbacks that are dual threat players. And what happens now in the last 15 years, really starting with Cam Newton, is when you get a player that's special like that, you change your whole offense for him and you play to his strengths. Now, what does that mean? You're right. There's no evidence that any of these running quarterbacks are going to get a catastrophic injury. but there's a lot of evidence they're not going to play for 15 years. Like Cam Newton fell off a cliff, right? He was the biggest guy in the field, but he took a lot of kind of cumulative punishment. And I think people understand also that, like I said, at the championship level, typically, unless you just are super elite in the other ways, the game will you would rather have somebody who can pass consistently well when it's difficult to do so. That would have a little bit of a greater value than the running component, which can just disappear and go away and not be as important depending on the game situation, or sometimes can be taken away by the opponent, and definitely over time leaves you as a player, right? There's no 35-year-old dynamic running quarterbacks, but there's plenty of 35-year-old dynamic passing quarterbacks. So I guess the test of time will tell on that as well.
You know, I that'll be interesting, right? Because here we are probably deeper into this career, like Lamar Jackson doing it at this level, than a lot of people already suggested that would be possible. But then we remember he's still younger than Joe Burrow, so it's a
he's young. He may be able to keep doing this for a long time, but if you rely on it to a large degree, look at Russell Wilson's career. Unbelievable quarterback. I mean, a potential Hall of Fame quarterback. But he's lost that dynamic ability, right? You're not afraid of him. He used to turn his back to the defense, run around and make the play of the week in the NFL every week. That's not part of his game now.
I know that's – I guess what I – like.
He's not going to be good at age 35 like Peyton Manning was, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Russell for sure. I guess that's what's interesting is like.
But he was a unanimous tier. Russell Wilson was
a Hall of
unanimous
Famer.
tier one quarterback.
I'm with you.
No, he was unanimous tier one in this poll too.
This is fascinating because I come back to, but I still think Lamar Jackson is better today, or has been better at this point at those things than even like Russell Wilson in playmaking. What you're talking about specifically, keeping the play alive. It's Ben Roethlisberger-esque, right? Just more athletic. Like I still think that as a dynamic player, Lamar Jackson is more skilled than even Russell Wilson was. Now, is he a better passer?
I would agree.
You know, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Russell, though, there's no doubt about it that having some of this punch through in the playoffs more is a big part of it. I think Russell Wilson early in his career, now with great defense,
right,
and a great run game.
Yep.
But he really rose in those biggest moments and made some huge plays. Even in the Super Bowl they lost, remember he threw that miracle ball down to get him down there. Unbelievable, iconic plays in huge moments. Definitely helps. So I think that would definitely help him. I think one of the reasons that Justin Herbert fell out, too, was just like at a certain point he's got to do it in the postseason. Or why hasn't Dak Prescott gone higher? One of the comments on him was, he can roll out of bed and throw for 450 yards. Yeah, but can he win a playoff game?
Right.
Like he's just sort of plateaued there, right? But he's going to throw for 4,000 yards every year.
And I get everything you just said is relevant to me, right? But then I come back to but what has Josh Allen done in the postseason? Like what?
People think though that Josh Allen, they do think that, right or wrong, that they would rather have him passing the football when you have to pass. They definitely think that.
That's it's interesting to me, right?
Like, it's close.
Yeah. And the other side of it too, to me, still, Mike, is, and you bring up a very good point. Like the Ravens obviously have had a very good run game, but I still think there's warranted conversation. But have they, playmaker wise, done what they should have done in order to best surround Lamar Jackson? And again, the argument would be, well, look, what Patrick Mahomes has won with. Again, I acknowledge, everyone acknowledges Patrick Mahomes is a unicorn.
Mahomes is in a different category.
Yes.
He's a different category from Tom Brady and Joe Montana in my book, because those quarterbacks did have the top defenses when they won it all.
Yeah.
Mahomes is really one of the only guys ever who, like in 2019 and 22, won championships without having even a top half of the league defense. So he's put him in a different category.
Correct.
I agree.
Correct.
Put him in a different
so
category.
Separating that.
Now, if all the
have the Ravens done enough playmaker wise to bring that out of to give Lamar Jackson that opportunity?
Well, they started to last year. So here's the way I see it. I think the Ravens did an incredible job of helping him become a good player right away. Because remember, when he was coming out, the reason a guy like Bill Polian said what he said was because Bill was applying an old way the league was done, which Lamar Jackson would have come in and have to adjust to some offense that wasn't set up to him. And it would have been tough. It would have been tough for a lot of quarterbacks, but especially for him with his skill set. Ravens did an amazing job. Changed their whole offense around him, helped make him a superstar. Now, they got to a point where they decided, you know what, we want to take another step and develop out the passing part of this, and we can go to another level. Lamar can go to another level, and maybe it'll help him prolong his career too as a passer. And they did that. I thought the Odell signing was a good one. I think Odell was fine for them last year.
I agree. He was...
And so, we'll see if that part of it blossoms. If they're going to keep having a top 5 defense and special teams, and he is all the things that the 23 people put him in tier 1 think, and you think, I mean, the AFC Championship games are going to flow, right?
You would hope. You would hope. That's
I mean, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't? If you have a top 5 defense and an MVP quarterback, you should be going pretty far, right?
I agree. I do. And I that's my expectation. Like, my expectation, Mike, is that this team. It's almost like it's hard to talk about the team coming into the preseason this year in Baltimore, because like the only answers you have, or the only questions you have about the team, are ones you can't get answered until January. Like I
know. Yeah. Yeah, you have to earn that status, but it's frustrating when you get to it, because then anything can happen in a playoff. You could just have a run into the wrong team, or you play Mahomes, and then it's like, here we are again. Was that all for nothing?
Or for whatever reason, your team can completely abandon running the football for no reason whatsoever. They can just continue to say, let's not give the ball to our running backs, despite the fact that it seems to have worked. I don't know why, but we'll continue to think about that.
But you could see what John Harbaugh did because John Harbaugh's like, all right, that didn't happen again, so they got Derrick Henry.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right.
That didn't happen again.
What do you make of that? Because like there is the Kansas City thing is such a boogeyman, right? Like, this is, as with Patrick Mahomes is breathing, they're the team to beat. That's the way that it goes. Is it possible, Mike, that the presence of a Derrick Henry can be the difference maker for a team that was unquestionably the best team in the NFL during the regular season a year ago, that was pounding other good teams down the stretch?
I think that it can, based on the makeup of the team. Like, I think if they would have had that type of player last season with that team, when you're that good on defense, you can definitely play to that. We've seen that before. We've seen great defenses win it all. Now, just when you fix the run game, and now there's a bunch of changes on defense. They still may be great, but there's new coaches and some new people there. I know they're optimistic, and you can pretty much put down Baltimore for being in the top 5 on defense. But each season is new, and so I would just say, hey, if all these things are true, it'll take care of itself, and you'll have some of those successes. But I think for Lamar, he made the story to me is he made big strides. He went up. He passed Rodgers and Herbert, okay? This is about where he should be. It's real close to where he should be. And if you want to say that tier 1 should just go a couple notches down, I wouldn't fight you on that, because 3 is the lowest we've had. But I think that distinction and that conversation around the pure pass component is fine to have.
Yeah,
I feel okay.
I feel like
it doesn't mean you're undermining the guy and saying he's not any good.
I understand exactly what you're saying, Mike. I'm certainly not grilling you. I know this is not.
No, it's not my poll. I mean, but I am trying to explain the thinking.
No,
I think there's rational thought on both sides.
I appreciate that. I feel like maybe in my world, there should be one person in tier 1, and then maybe like 5 guys in tier 2 after that. Maybe the more practical.
So there were some voters. Some voters had one in tier 1, just one guy.
I believe that.
Some voters did.
I think if like that's what, and again, I'm not nearly the expert that the people that you're talking to are, but if that's what you presented to me and said, how many quarterbacks should be in tier 1? There's one. There's one guy who's separated from everybody else, and then it would be interesting to me where the cutoff would be for the next group, because it is, like, I noticed it's a really deep tier 2. Like, that's a huge group of guys.
Here's what I would do.
Yeah.
Here's what I would do if we were going to do this. Here's what I would do. I would say Mahomes 1. And you could make 2 be Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Herbert, Stafford, Rodgers, and maybe Stroud, Prescott at the bottom of that, okay?
Okay.
I think those are, and maybe we're a little early on Stroud, but we'll see.
No, I'm enamored with him too, for what it's worth.
Then the start of your next group might be that Goff, Hurts, Purdy, Cousins, Love, Tua, Lawrence, Kyler. Because I think that group, you could feel like, could look really good or bad depending more what's around them. Wouldn't you say?
Yep. No,
could.
To the point, like, it's difficult for me, and I'm not trying to say that Brock Purdy hasn't been really good, but it is difficult for me to think that Brock Purdy is already on the same tier as Lamar Jackson as an NFL quarterback at this point.
Yeah. So we have to be able to differentiate within a tier that there's a low tier 2 is definitely different than a high tier 2.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's fun. It's a great discussion.
I appreciate the
This is fun.
and you always do this every year, despite the fact that you know that everybody in Baltimore is going to be mad. Like you always do this, and I really appreciate that. And it is good conversation leading up to the season.
Well, I love the conversation. It's not there's nothing bad about it to me. It's interesting, and it's what's funny. This is funny about this year. So I do the 50 ballots, right?
Yep.
I would say 20 into these, Lamar was pretty strongly in tier 1. I thought he was going to make it. And then it evened out over the course. But we're talking about 3 votes. So, if I reached out to 60 people to get 50, if you get 3 different ones, I mean, that's how close it is. So I don't think these results are saying he's not tier 1. The results are saying he's right on that line where he is, but is this one thing missing a little bit? And how important is that one thing? But he certainly moved positively in that realm. I mean, that's why you got so many tier 1 votes.
We could do that question for probably the next 20 hours. Mike Sando, I'm a Cook Index guy. I'm a Mike Sando reader. I look forward to everything. Is there anything else big picture that you have coming in the next couple of weeks at The Athletic?
So later this week, what I did is I took all of these results for the quarterbacks and I plugged them into the schedule so we could look and see who has an easier or harder schedule of opposing quarterbacks. And then we can look at other things, just like, hey, one of the things that was interesting this year was that Burrow and Herbert finished in last place. So these teams that got last place schedules are drawing those guys, and some of that stuff's interesting on a team-by-team level, and we'll get to that this week.
At Sando NFL is how you follow him. Is there anything else I can plug for you, Mike?
That's it. That's all we got for now, and we'll be diving into the season soon.
Really appreciate it.
In fact, we'll be diving into a pretty good week 1 game.
Yeah, that one, although, as I said before, it's almost like a no-win for the Ravens. They could go win by 3 touchdowns in Kansas City, and it would be fun for a night, and then everybody around town would be like, okay, what are you going to do in January? Like, that's just it's this weird purgatory that, but the standard is created for them where,
I know.
It's a great burden to have. It means that everybody thinks you're good. It's just the reality of the circumstances. They have one thing they've got to prove, which is, can they get over the hump in the playoffs? And that's the nature of it. That's the way it works.
And you kind of feel like whoever loses that game is going to win the next game in the playoffs. So doesn't that, you know what I mean? Like if the Chiefs lose that, that's like Mark now. That's like Mark,
them.
and you're like, shoot.
Yeah, there's some of that, right?
Shoot.
Like what are the chances that you're going to beat the Chiefs twice in the same season? Seriously, what are the chances?
So maybe here's what you should maybe hope for: a Ravens shootout loss. Lamar just on fire, toe to toe with Mahomes.
Yeah.
And Mahomes just gets the ball last, but Lamar finishes 32 of 47 for 389 and 3 touchdowns. Then you can come out of that going, okay.
I feel like we're booking this. We're booking this like a WrestleMania main event right now. We're trying to. How do you make the other guy look strong? No, I know exactly what you're saying, though, Mike, and I understand it.
You'd almost rather take that and then win the rematch.
Oh, 1,000%. Like, there's no debate. Like, you're telling me the simple concept of, do you really think you're going to beat the Chiefs twice in the same season? You saying that, you're right. I don't think that. So if that's the case, you'd rather not win the first one in case you. Oh man, we're losing our minds, Mike.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy, but hey.
Oh,
you got a good team. You got a really good quarterback, and we can debate if he should be up there with those 2 guys. But he's in the top 5 of the league. You got a top 5 quarterback in the league. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a way better than a lot of cities have. There's no question about that. Mike Sando, really appreciate it, man. Thank you for doing this. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you,
Mike Sando.
Okay,
from The Athletic with us here on GCR. And look, man, I don't actually care about these things. This matters to me not even a little bit. It is interesting to me that there are still more folks around the league that would rate Josh Allen above Lamar Jackson. I have thoughts. I think there are biases probably involved with that. Mike saying, hey, I think the difference came down to these pure passing situations. And as we talked about before, the Ravens typically play bully ball. That's the way that it works. They build up a lead. They run and hide. That's the way it usually goes. Maybe you point out, like, hey, the Rams game was an opportunity last year for you to show that, like, in those moments, you could deliver. And, there were some nice moments in the Rams game, but, they won it thanks to special teams. So it might really be nothing more than, hey, if there were more of these dramatic Lamar Jackson late game-winning drives, then we would probably think more highly of those moments. But there aren't. The greatness of Lamar Jackson is usually that you're playing from ahead and that you don't have to have dramatic late game-winning drives. It's interesting. That's all it is to me. It's just interesting. Come back in. Our buddy Gregg Rosenthal is going to join us from NFL Daily and NFL Network. Also, we're going to talk about the U.S. Open because that's what Gregg Rosenthal and I do is we talk about the U.S. Open, and you can just deal with that. Today's show brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone. High school sports season is underway. All of the scores, all of the teams, all of the schools all over the state. Find him, CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from growing up the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of GCR. Francis Tiafoe dropped a set last night. He dropped a set last night, and I was not happy in that moment. But he didn't play poorly, and so I'm good all in all. The big story on day one of the U.S. Open, again, not something that the average person is going to care about, but American Brandon Nakashima, straight sets winner over Holger Rune. Like, that was stunning. I was not aware that he was 3-0 all time against Holger Rune, and Nakashima's put together a nice little summer after he had totally fallen off the face of the planet. And Holger Rune seems like a petulant brat, so I think we can all get behind those results. I'm a fan of that. So those are some of the things that stood out on day one. Unfortunately, former U.S. Open champion Sloane Stephens, yikes, had a 6-love, 3-love lead and lost. Rough. Let's talk more about it right now, and I guess maybe we'll talk some football. This man, the host of the ill-fated but beloved Courts of Thunder podcast, I hear he's been involved in other projects over the years. NFL Network, NFL Daily is his new venture. He is Mr. Gregg Rosenthal, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great. I don't know how you got to start with the bummer news talking Sloane Stephens on your show, but I'm great.
That was really rough, man. It's not even like you don't even have expectations for Sloane Stephens, and you're still disappointed by it. Like that is rough. All right, let's start with Coco. Right, let's start there because obviously this is the 1 year, and everybody remembering her breakthrough a year ago at the U.S. Open and what a moment that was. It has been a brutal summer for Coco Gauff. What do we make of what's gone on? I know there's been a lot made about the schedule and everybody going to try to play at the Olympics and how that hurt everybody, but I don't know. It seems like there's something bigger than that that's been going on with Coco.
Right. Jessica Pegula, who was her partner when they lost at the Olympics, which was a big disappointment to both of them. I think they thought they were going to get a medal. Has had a great summer since the Olympics, so who knows? It sounds like, to me, some tennis players are a little bit about the vibes, about the feel, about the confidence. Like, she is such a confidence player. She's not necessarily the most talented in terms of her strokes in tennis. And it sounded like she just wasn't having a lot of fun. But she said, after her first round where she looked very good, and like if she had played that first round a week ago, she would not have done as well. But she had the week to kind of reset and appreciate kind of where she's at. And I don't know, I would never rule her out. She seems to have the right sort of mentality that she could have a terrible summer and then show up at the U.S. Open. And if she's in the semifinals, I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay. All right. I can listen to that. And she certainly has the talent that she'd be capable of doing that. I don't know what to make of where she's at and what the results do to her. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. I think the more interesting question is like, who really should be the favorite on the women's side, right? Like, I feel like I would be arguing that it's Sabalenka to beat, isn't it?
Yes. I think she's a pretty clear favorite, but it's wide open outside of her. And the conditions play a little slower than in Cincinnati where she won. But, yeah, like if you're looking at the top of the rankings, Iga Swiatek, she hasn't looked great since the French Open for her standard. Elena Rybakina has been struggling to finish tournaments because of her health. Jessie Pegula's, had a good summer, but she's in Iga's quarter, and so they would match up in the quarterfinals, and she has, struggled in that matchup repeatedly. So it does feel like it's a women's tournament more than the men's. That's wide open. That's interesting. That all the first week matches are like great, whereas the men's you're just kind of like, all right, let's fast forward to the semifinals and get on with it.
Let's get to when it matters. I actually wanted to dive in on that. Like, what is the breakdown for Swiatek and Pegula, like specifically on hard courts? Do we know? Because like it seems like that's the equalizer for Swiatek, isn't it?
Yes, but let's also not overrate it. Swiatek, by the numbers, would be probably the second best hardcore player in the world and has won a lot of Masters, but hasn't done much of the Grand Slams other than winning the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. I think Pegula's only beaten her one time, and it was on hardcore. I'm amazed I can remember this. It was at one of those team events in Australia.
Pegula's 3-6 all time against Swiatek, but for some reason I'm not finding the breakdown.
I was pumping myself up for remembering something, and then I was totally wrong about it.
She had a win last summer in Montreal, so that was a hard court, right?
There you go.
Was that, and she won. I don't know what the United Cup was. What was the United Cup? What was
That's
that?
what I just said.
Oh,
that was some team event. But either way, Pegula's got a chance. I feel like there's probably about 12 women that have a chance.
All right. I can talk myself into Pegula only to be disappointed by it again, because that's the story of trying to root for Jessie Pegula over the years, which is very frustrating. On the men's side of things, as you point out, right, like it is very much fast forward to next week, but I feel like it really does come down to like a couple of key storylines. Did what we see, and you and I talked after the Olympics, did that change any of the feelings that we have about Novak Djokovic's ability to win a Grand Slam tournament, or ultimately will having to play, the possibility of 5-set matches over the course of 2 weeks, will that wear him down back to a place where it's still going to be difficult for him to ever win a slam again?
Yeah, it has changed how I felt about it, because he had a pretty bad year going into this. You're talking about how Coco Gauff has had a bad year. It's like before Novak made the finals of Wimbledon and won the Olympics, like he wasn't even in the top 10 this year in terms of the race. And then suddenly he looks like Novak Djokovic again. I watched him on Scott Van Pelt last night. He just seems so happy having won the Olympics and confident and playing well. And to me, he's the favorite, partly because of the draw. The number one thing if you're a men's tennis fan right now is, all right, does Sinner and Alcaraz get stuck together, or does Djokovic and Sinner get stuck together, and you have to then go through two of those guys to win the tournament? Djokovic, for what seems like the millionth straight tournament, got the lucky draw and does not have many tough matches in the first week either. So just based on that, and Alcaraz kind of freaking out and Sinner playing under this cloud of suspicion, I feel like Novak's the favorite again. Everything old is new again.
Yeah, I hear you. I can't go there yet. Like, I still Carlos Alcaraz with 5 sets. Honest to God, I still think that if the Olympic final was a 5-setter, Carlos Alcaraz would have won it. Right? Like, I just don't. It's very difficult for me to say that anybody is the favorite over Carlos Alcaraz. I get it. It's weird. I don't know how to explain what happened. It's the weirdest result that we have seen in like modern tennis history, that he would lose to Gael Monfils.
Here's the thing, though. He was lucky, Alcaraz, to even get to 2 tiebreaks. Novak just was awesome. So you can say, yeah, he would maybe lost in 5 sets, but he was up 2 sets to nothing, and he was able to empty the tank. The one thing I worry about with Alcaraz is he's undefeated in Grand Slam finals. That was a heartbreaking loss for him. We saw last year after a very tough loss, that took him a while to respond sometimes to big losses, or a couple of years ago. I'm thinking, so he seemed pretty emotionally devastated. He totally lost his mind in Cincinnati. Maybe he got it out of his system, but he lost to Gael Monfils and smashing his racket like he's John McEnroe in the 70s. So that is not the Carlos Alcaraz we know.
No, I really do think that's maybe the most stunning result that we have seen in a tennis match in a decade. I'll never be able to explain that, but I'm more inclined to push it to the side until it becomes a pattern and still assume that Carlos Alcaraz is the guy. The American men's player that's most interesting to you, like there's somebody that's playing in the semifinals this year who to you, like obviously Tiafoe had a terrible season until Cincinnati, and so I don't know what to make of that, but who is the guy to you at this point that's most likely to have some sort of breakthrough?
I mean, I think it is Tiafoe having kind of a revival. The men's tennis is so weird right now in America, because we actually have 5 guys, I think, in the top 15 or 16. They're all ranked exactly 12 through 16, which none of them are really contenders, but they're all good players. That's the most American players that have been that high since the 90s. And yet Tiafoe is the guy in form. He played well at Wimbledon, turned the season around, played well in Cincinnati. And unfortunately, we'll play Ben Shelton again, just like they did last year if they both get there. I think it's the 4th round that match would be. And those are easily the two most interesting. So whoever wins that, I think both of them have pretty good draws until they play each other. And I think they both, with the right draw would have a chance to go pretty far. Francis is not going to win this tournament. I mean, Ben Shelton's not either at this point, but maybe someday Ben Shelton could. So he's probably more compelling long-term. And yet I would be very happy to see Francis kind of have another big run to kind of back up the one that he had 2 years ago.
Well, it would create a level of his relationship with the crowd is just Ben Shelton's not quite there yet. And I don't know that couldn't change. But
yeah, he's getting there. That match, I think, is a tough one for Francis. He did not enjoy it last year, and Shelton won it.
Yeah, that would. By the way, it's third round. Third round would be when we would see Francis and Shelton, which seems.
No, that's annoying.
Yeah, that's really annoying. But I don't know what it is. I feel like that Friday, late afternoon. I believe that was when we saw the Alcaraz Tsitsipas thing from a few years ago when Alcaraz had his. There's something about that first week Friday to me that there's. Serena lost in that scenario one time. I wish I could write all these things down so this felt like a more thoughtful statement to make. But there is something to me about that Friday, late afternoon, early evening situation, and I would be all in for that being the Friday match that everybody's paying attention to.
Oh, right. That would be great. And Shelton might be the favorite. It's like Shelton's had a better year and is probably a little more consistent just because he's just got that serve, and Francis doesn't love anything like that. Yep.
Nope, no doubt about it. All right, let me talk something football with you so that I can say that I can do that. He is Gregg Rosenthal. He's with us here on GCR. So now that we are at the cusp of the season, give me the early season storylines, like the things that you're watching out for. I say that because in Baltimore, while they're playing the biggest game of the year, nothing matters until January. I can't even get they're playing the Chiefs in week 1, and we can't even feign any sort of elevated level of interest because the entire storyline that exists in Baltimore is what do they do in the playoffs? Can they finally? They could win in Kansas City by 3 touchdowns to open the season, and it would be, that's neat. What are they going to do in January? That's just where it is, and it's a good burden to be faced with because the team's really good, right? That you want to be in that situation, but it's the reality of the circumstances.
No, I disagree. You want to enjoy the process. If you can't enjoy, look, these are the good old days. Hopefully Lamar Jackson has a long, great career and healthy, and so you're going to have the good old days for a while. But you got to enjoy it. You got to get up for the regular season game. You got to be part of the journey. And you're right. September and October is not going to matter that much in the long run. But I kind of saw this as a Celtics fan, who I think we're in a similar place to where the Ravens are now. 3/4 of the fan base were miserable throughout last season when they're the best team in the league, just saying, okay, none of this matters, and picking little nits throughout, what's going to go wrong. And it's hey, how about you actually enjoy the championship season while it's happening instead of just being miserable the whole time? So I say no.
I know
Get
what you're saying.
Get up for that week 1 game as if it's Lamar's rookie year.
We did that last year. We did. December was amazing in Baltimore a year ago. They hammered the 49ers on Christmas. It was the greatest December in the histoy of Baltimore football.
So that's fine. At least, they can't take that away from you. At the time, it was a lot of fun. So at least have fun at the time because only one team's going to win in the end. So you might as well enjoy it.
All right. So early season. What are the things around the league that you are monitoring that are most interesting to you?
Well, I think it's teams like the Ravens, but in terms of teams that have been there year after year, who wobbles the most early, because we actually have, people say the NFL is so unpredictable, and yet we've had a pretty consistent group of teams the last, few years, and the 49ers are kind of at the top of that list. For me, and the Cowboys would certainly be there too, back-to-back 12-win seasons. So those two teams, some of these teams that have a lot of pressure on them early. I think there's a lot going on with San Francisco. They're even in a worse spot than Baltimore, where the regular season really doesn't feel like it matters, and they kind of have all the issues that come along with winning Super Bowls, and yet they haven't won one. And so it's kind of like watching those teams, Dallas, Philadelphia, and San Francisco in the NFC especially. If any of those get off the slow starts, and I think they're all ripe for it, just the conversation and the coaches, especially in the NFC East, like kind of how that works out. Because I think there's a handful of teams here where if it starts to go south, like things could get ugly, even if there's a lot of talent on the roster.
All right, let me present. I think I've got 3 that are big early season storylines to me. I'm going to present them to you and just get your response. All right. The first one to me is I think that there is in the AFC, the team with the most volatility to me going into the year is the New York Jets. And early on, to me, it's the most fascinating thing will be, is Aaron Rodgers just Aaron Rodgers again? And if he looks like Aaron Rodgers in the first month of the season, do you immediately say, well, now they're in the conversation of teams that legitimately could end up being in the Super Bowl? Like that, the volatility of what we think the Jets could be, because I still don't know. Like Aaron Rodgers at this age and coming off that injury, is he definitely still Aaron Rodgers? I get that we're used to like quarterbacks playing into their 40s at this point, but is he definitely still Aaron Rodgers? And if he is, like, are we just looking at do we already think the AFC is top heavy? How much top heavier does it become? Whereas if he's, not fully Aaron Rodgers, do we find ourselves saying, oh, it just might be over?
Yeah, I came into camp really thinking that about Kirk Cousins and Rodgers, and it's funny how I can just get duped probably by these training camp reports that Rodgers just looks great in practice and he's lighting it up. And I'm like, oh, I guess he's fine. But you're right. We're not really going to know that Monday night game to start the season is against San Francisco, which is really fascinating. It's fascinating to me in Vegas. Like their over-under is 10.5, which is bigger than Buffalo. It's bigger than Miami. All 3 of them are favored to make the playoffs, though. So that's a loaded division. And they are a team – to me, teams have different motivations different times of the year. Like Baltimore, you mentioned it. I won't really think much differently about them if they start out 4-2 or something, or 3-2. Whereas the Jets, like, I feel like they already feel like their Super Bowl is September. Like they are a team I could actually see getting out to a hot start, because they've been waiting for this moment for 3 or 4 years, and it's a veteran team. They have a good defense, and so yes, I think they're going to be good.
How long the storyline to me number 2? How long does it take for Pittsburgh to realize they're starting the wrong quarterback?
Probably like 5 weeks, but in the end, it might be what's the difference. That's sort of where I am. I'm pretty low on Russell Wilson, and I do think they're starting the wrong quarterback, and yet everyone that was like, you got to start Justin Fields based on the preseason did not watch the preseason, because Justin Fields didn't look great. The offensive line is a problem. They have the worst Ravens fans think their wide receiver group is thin. Look at the Steelers. Wide receiver 2 through 5 is the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, I can't even name. I can't name a single wide receiver on the roster
other than George Pickens.
Right,
Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson. Calvin Austin.
Oh yeah.
They have a rookie, Roman Wilson, but he hasn't even been healthy. And then a couple other journeyman type. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, I would think that you would want the quarterback with more mobility in that situation. That would be to me the player. Yeah. And then my third one is how legitimate are the Bears? Very quickly, because again, teams that to me are volatile. Like the Bears they stand out amongst teams with volatility. Where like if Caleb Williams is as good as we all think he is, given everything they've surrounded him with, like they to me could end up being a legitimate threat in the NFC. Whereas if he looks like a rookie quarterback, then that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I was surprised. I checked this morning that they were favored for what it's worth to kind of be the 7th seed if you look at like playoff odds, and that's a little too rich for me. But you mentioned it. I mean, the story with all these rookie quarterbacks, if Drake May ends up starting, but especially Caleb Williams, I think he's going to be great. I just don't think the defense and the offensive line and everything else, other than the weapons and Caleb Williams, are special, including the coaching staff. And so I think Caleb will be great. I think they'll be hanging around 500 in the race, but not like a real deal contender like the Lions are, for instance.
All right. At Gregg Rosenthal, of course, is how you follow him. And the NFL Daily, for people that don't know?
Yeah, we're cranking them out 5 days a week. We got a big AFC preview, NFC preview next week or this week, and then we're off and running, recaps after the games. It's been a lot of fun.
Always appreciate you, brother. Obviously, we'll be texting maniacally for the next couple of weeks, and I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy that'll have to be getting somebody yell me updates about the Ravens-Chiefs game because it's the night of women's semifinals. That's just the way that it works.
I know that always is annoying to me. We will definitely be texting during Talabadosa Taylor Townsend tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that.
No question about that. Love you, buddy. Appreciate you.
See ya.
It's Gregg Rosenthal with us here on GCR. Daniel Collins making quick work in the first set today. I really wish that we didn't have to do that. Why have I never figured that out to take a 2-week vacation? I feel like I should put that in my next deal with press box, is that I don't have to work during the slams.
Well, what, the show only overlaps for an hour,
Yeah,
right?
well, during the U.S. Open anyway. During others, it's the entirety of the show. I just feel like I shouldn't have to. I feel like I've earned that at this point in my career.
Have you?
Yeah.
Your classical music knowledge? You think
Correct.
warrants-
100%. Did you get it right?
I mean, no.
Thank you. I feel like that if you could get Handel's Messiah, then you would be able to take that time off work, but you didn't. So it's what it is. That's the way that it goes.
Guess I can't argue, but
yeah, you can't, can you? Because I'm right. I'm right. I keep updating Jeff Zrebex. I'm stalking Jeff today. That's the way that
I mean, everyone stalks Jeff.
Most
days.
He just retweeted Mary Kay Cabot from the Cleveland Plain Dealer with Browns quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson being informed today that he's made the 53. A source tells me the Browns will field calls for Jameis Winston.
Really?
And Tyler Huntley.
Oh, okay.
And could trade one of them. Now,
I thought you were going to say because they cut James Prochet, so I thought that was you were throwing that back on the table.
Don't really care about that. James Prochet, great guy. I just have no interest in that. I have zero interest in trading for Tyler Huntley. I can't fathom that you can get a trade for Tyler Huntley. There's a lot of teams that are going to be saying, let's try to trade so-and-so. Is there a world where you could do a pick swap? Maybe. Maybe. Everybody's going to look at their roster and say, we've got a Tyler Huntley. Thank you. We're all right. Jameis is a little more interesting, right? It's clear Jameis, unlike Ryan Tannehill, is fine with being a backup quarterback. If Jameis really is available for a low trade cost, if they've really decided that Jameis is not their guy in Cleveland, which one?
He's too much fun for them.
What am I missing, man?
Minnesota,
Yeah, I mean, if I were Minnesota, I would definitely be on the phone. If I were the Raiders, who just decided
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Now, I don't know what to make of the Raiders because they could have done anything to get a quarterback, and they just sort of said, nah, we're good. They've had all offseason. I just assume at this point that they're cool with playing an entire year with no quarterback.
So,
and I'm not trying to – the other thing that's interesting, too –
just take it for Shador, right?
Yeah, maybe. It might be that these teams are not – they're just saying, look, man, if it's not even worth it for us to trade for Jameis because we know we're going to stink. So, and that is part of this conversation. Pretending like Jameis is going to make a significant difference for those teams is not something I can do. Maybe in Minnesota where you have pieces. It'd be unfair to say they don't have pieces in Vegas because they do have some pieces there. What world did they just decide not to have a quarterback? It's so bizarre. There is no team whose thought process makes less sense to me than the Raiders does. They just said, everybody was like, hey, you guys are going to line somebody up at quarterback, right? And they're like, no, we're good.
They got Devontae Adams and Max Crosby, though. So
I understand. They have good football players. If they had a quarterback, I'm not trying to pretend like they could compete to win the AFC. I mean, it would depend on what kind of quarterback it was. I would have at least taken a chance on getting one of them. If I'm the Ravens, and it was either Jameis Winston's on the street or it's a low-cost trade, that's where things get interesting to me, right? I can't pretend that I know that Malik Willis is definitively better than Josh Johnson. And somebody might even say, dude, definitively is the wrong word to use. Jameis is more accomplished than Josh Johnson is at the NFL level. But it definitively is a funny word. I think I can say Jameis Winston is definitively better than Josh Johnson. So if it was a low trade cost for him, I could listen to it. Trading for Tyler Huntley, for F's sake. Could you imagine? And this is the part that nobody really wants to talk about. I don't know that Tyler Huntley's definitively better than Josh Johnson. I think this is where things we like Tyler Huntley. He was competitive in tough situations, and it's fun, the silliness of him having gone to a Pro Bowl, and it became like an internet meme thing where we were like, yeah, Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. And it's like talking to Penn State people about Trace McSorley. Like, Trace McSorley is not an NFL quarterback, but he's not.
Hasn't gotten the right opportunity.
Yeah,
but yeah.
thank you. This is the thing. It's internet memes. Internet memes make you like someone more. And Tyler Huntley being labeled a Pro Bowl quarterback became an internet meme. And that made us like the guy more because it was a joke we could make on the internet. The truth is, and I don't say this to be disparaging because he's a nice guy. But Tyler Huntley's not a good quarterback. He's not capable of making the throws that are necessary in order to win in the NFL. So Tyler Huntley having to play 3 games? No. I'm not going to have any more confidence in Tyler Huntley's ability to be competitive than I would in Josh Johnson's ability to be competitive in those games. 0. I don't even know that I would have as much confidence. We've talked about Tyler Huntley perhaps being on the outs because they had so many quarterbacks in Cleveland. I would have no interest in a reunion with Tyler Huntley. None. You've got your answer. Good guy. Probably someone that would be logical as a backup in with the Chargers, right? In a Gregg Roman offense. In an offense where it's going to be predicated on running the ball, probably a good option. And you could say, well, that's what it would be. If you had to play one of these guys, you would obviously be running the ball more. I need someone who can make some throws. Not Tyler Huntley, man. He does not have that ability. Not at the NFL level. Good guy, nice story, fun, not NFL caliber quarterback. But I'd be interested in Jameis. That would be the upgrade that you'd be looking for. What's that compensation? Like, what does that cost you? And if it costs you something real, then the answer is no.
And if you have to go up against the Vikings,
yeah, if it becomes a bidding war, then no, there's no world where I'm getting into a bidding war for Jameis Winston. I'm not getting into bidding war for a backup quarterback. But I'm interested in that, and he's got obviously a history with Todd Monken. So, that would make it even more appealing. I would be, and yes, obviously part of this too is that we all like the Jameis Winston pump-up speeches, and we're all like, he's become he's become America's sweetheart.
We get Jameis and Roquan on the mic every week.
Yeah, could you imagine? Well, I don't know. Who do you let do the speech?
Yeah.
But separating the America's sweetheart factor, I think that would be a definitive upgrade, and it would be interesting to me. Tyler Huntley, no. Not even a little bit. None. Zero. Come back in, get a tidbit, and get Tubular to wind things down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
We've all experienced it before. The fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named Lamar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party, complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin. and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit FrederickKeys.com today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, winding down for the Tuesday edition of the program so I can start watching some tennis because we were on far too long and I was missing tennis yesterday, so we're not going to do that again today. In fact, I will tell you that today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Pressbox, which is still available for free anywhere that you find Pressbox around town, including your neighborhood Royal Farms store. Kyle Hamilton's on the cover. Great story from Bo Smolka about his rise to being a legitimate star. Go pick this up right now. You can read it all out at PressBoxOnline.com. Also, I feel like it's did you see that ESPN did an NFL player ranking, overall player ranking, like the NFL Network thing?
Yes.
And Lamar was number 2 on that list.
But it wasn't.
They actually got number 1 right this time, unlike the
I didn't.
NFL
Those were like
Network
literally
one.
the only 2.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Somebody told me Kyle Hamilton was like 47th, and they were like,
"What are we doing?"
Yeah. But yes, the ESPN got theirs right.
Was Jalen Johnson in theirs? I'm curious.
I don't. What? You're very interested about Jalen Johnson.
It was a storyline on Hard Knocks.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Apparently, he was taking offense to not being in the NFL top 100.
I have no idea. Could not tell you if Jalen Johnson was on the list. All right. Anyway, go get that today. We good? Can we do a tidbit? Let's do it then.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
He made it?
Yes, he's number 88.
Thank God.
Number 88 on the ESPN Top 100.
I hadn't slept since you brought it up.
Here, let me see what other Ravens are on the list. I'm seeing. All right, when I control F it, let's see. I'm seeing. Is it 10 really? All right, 64 is Andrews.
Okay.
Okay, they say Ravens like twice in each one. Matabike 55. Hamilton 47. Roquan 38.
Okay.
So we got each guy. We got a guy in each decade so
Okay.
far.
Probably nobody in the 20s.
Yeah. So it goes Roquan 38 and then Lamar 2.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So
All right.
4.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know.
Respectable.
Derrick Henry will show them.
Yeah. Hopefully, let him see this.
Yeah, leave him out of the top 100. See what happens to you.
I
can't believe they didn't. You mean to tell me? And look, man. I put up with a lot of nonsense, right? I will. I'll continue to put. But you mean to tell me that Jordan Stout didn't make the top 100 players list? It's ridiculous. Go ahead.
Okay, so Clark Farenthold from the San Diego News.com shared the stat. Did you see Jackson Merrill again hit a walk-off on Sunday?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now he's a
the
insanity.
the insanity of Paul Skeens was minus 10,000.
Why do we have to?
Wild.
I changed my pick to Paul Skeens.
Wild Jack.
When we did our auction. But yeah, so so Clark shared out this stat on Mason.
By the way,
Miller.
there's also people that are doing the bit like, oh, the rookie of the year is decided. There's still a month left in the season. Let's keep it in our pants.
So Mason Miller and Edwin Diaz, both pretty good, right?
Yes.
They've combined to throw 618 sliders this season.
Huh.
On those sliders, opposing hitters are batting 160 and have 4 home runs off of those sliders. Jackson Merrill has hit 2 of the 4 home runs off of the Mason Miller and Edwin Diaz nasty sliders.
That's pretty fun.
Yes. So that very interesting. There was the Greg Maddux doc on Sunday night on MLB Network that they were pushing hard.
I didn't get to watch that.
Yeah, I didn't get to either. It looked interesting. The clips looked
remind me after tennis is over, like in 2 weeks, that was a thing.
Well, it'll be football season. Probably won't. Probably won't remind you.
Well, I don't know. I have Tuesday nights.
Well, I mean, like I don't remember to remember.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things I've been asking you to do.
Well, yeah.
But
where do you want this one, Ray?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hembo shared a nice thread of a bunch of Greg Maddux stats. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that was
Lovely
very
gift
interesting.
from John Coles.
23 seasons Greg Maddux pitched. Spent a total of 15 days on the at the time the DL, the disabled list. Only 15 days in his career. It was a 2-week stint. Remember the year?
No.
And remember the injury designation?
No.
He had an inflamed nerve in his lower back apparently for 2 weeks.
The nerve
in 2002.
Sure he did.
He does hold the record for most starts for most games started without issuing a walk. 236.
When you get into some of those stats that they give about Greg Maddux and walks, like it ends up being, and I don't remember that. Drew had one of them that he would always.
He has 7 seasons of where he made more starts than walks.
That is nuts.
7 qualified seasons, to make sure. And then, so 236 starts without issuing a walk, 68 more than any other pitcher in the history of baseball. There's a lot of names.
Zach Eflin's going to break all these
you
records.
You think so?
Yeah, he's on his way.
There's a lot of fun names when you do the all-time, but I want to give you a chance here. Can you name how many of the guys? I guess we'll do the top 10. Guys, pitchers with most starts with 0 walks allowed in your lifetime. So since 1983.
Wow. In my lifetime.
Yeah, I want to give you a chance.
Wow. Okay.
Let's do the top 10. How many of the top 10? There are 14 guys that made over 100 starts without issuing a walk.
14 guys with over 100 starts that didn't. Oh my God.
In the last 40.
I don't even really know how to approach this, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to name good pitchers, and we'll see where we go. Tom Glavine.
No Tom Glavine.
Okay.
He is just outside. He would be 16th on the list.
There
93.
We go. Randy Johnson.
Randy. Nope.
Pedro Martinez.
Nope.
Mike Mussina.
Mike Mussina is top 4. 120 starts.
I saw something going around. Because it happened when he was with the Yankees. I don't have any memory of this, but I think Joe Torre was on Jimmy Rollins' podcast recently, and they showed this video of a time that Joe Torre was about to go get Mike Mussina with 1 out remaining in the 9th inning in like a 6-1 game. And he starts walking out of the dugout, and Mussina starts shouting at him, "Get back. No." And Torre just turns around. He doesn't even go out of the mound. He just turns around, goes back into the dugout. All right, so more good pitchers. Adam Wainwright.
Not Adam Wainwright.
All right. How about...
He's outside the top 25.
How about since 1983? Nolan Ryan.
No Nolan Ryan.
How about John Smoltz?
Smoltz is outside. 85 for Smoltz.
How about John Lester?
Not John Lester. There is a John whose last name starts with L, though.
John Lackey.
Not Lackey.
There's a John that starts with
yeah,
L.
Guy he was a one-time All-Star.
So one-time All-Star? This is a dumb list. Why are we doing this list?
I think he made 109 starts without issuing a walk in his career that stretched from 1994 to 2008. Started with the Pirates in the mid-90s.
Lieber? John Lieber? John Lieber is on this list?
109 starts without issuing a walk.
What is this list? I take it back. It might not be valuable.
Okay.
Kenny Rogers, the gambler.
No, not Kenny Rogers.
Strasburg.
No Steven Strasburg.
Scherzer.
They are none. Well, actually, there's one guy that was active as recent as a year ago, but no other active. Actually, sorry, there's one active. One more active. So 2.
Kershaw.
Clayton Kershaw. He's 11th on the list, 105.
Who was active a year ago? Who was active last year?
Didn't pitch much if he did. I guess he did pitch. He wasn't good last year.
He wasn't good last year, but he was active.
Yeah.
They're seniors, but they're active seniors.
Number 3 on this list,
I miss
139.
When SportsCenter would show highlights of things, it was so great. Like, why would anybody care about the senior golf tour? Like, there was no reason. But, my God, they would always make sure they got in what was going on in the senior golf tour, and it gave Kenny Mayne the opportunity to say they're seniors, but they're active seniors. That's my favorite thing. Who was active last year? Who was active? Man.
He was a Royal last year.
He was a Royal last year. Will never be Royal. It's not. Oh, Greinke?
Yes, Zach Greinke. Number 3 on this list in the last 41 seasons, 139 starts. So Maddox is 1. You're missing 2.
How about
You have 3 and
Bumgarner?
4. No Mad Bum.
How about a big-time Timmy Jim?
No. Is that his name? Timmy Jim?
No, Tim Lincecum.
Oh,
yeah.
Tim Lincecum. No Tim Lincecum.
How about Felix Hernandez?
No Felix.
How about Johan Santana?
No Johan Santana.
David-
You're a little too modern.
David Cohn.
Not David Cohn.
David Wells.
David Wells,
Hey.
yes. Number 2 on the list. Maddox, Wells, Greinke, Mussina are the top 4.
Kevin Brown.
No Kevin Brown. Let's see if you can get the top. If you can get the top 6, we can get out of here. We have a twin. And then a guy also who pitched into his 40s. He's no longer active, but he played for just about every team.
Guy pitching. Cologne?
Yes, Bartolo Colon, 114 starts without a walk.
A twin. Radke.
Brad Radke. There you go. You got the top 6. Number 7 on the list. He's also a Royal, or at least no. He pitches.
Apier.
No, not Apier. He's a guy I've never heard of.
A guy you've never heard of.
But he won 2 Cy Youngs in the 80s.
Saberhagen?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Saberhagen.
That's not a. You should have heard of.
I should have heard of Brett Saberhagen.
He's a 2-time Cy Young.
He made 112 starts without shooting a walk. Number 9 on this list was he was a Giant.
Was
an
a
Angel.
Giant, an Angel. Sean Bosky.
Probably something else. Not Sean Bosky.
It was a Giant, an Angel, and probably something else. Terry Mulholland. Giant, and Angel. Giant.
He's a Dodger. Oh, wow, he's a lot of things. I know him as a Giant and Angel. Wait a minute.
What?
He was never a Giant? Why did I think he was a Giant? Cardinals, A's, Diamondbacks, Angels.
Dan Herron?
Yes, Dan Herron.
Okay.
Dan Herron, who had 1-year stints with the Nats, Dodgers, Marlins, and Cubs as well.
But not
never
the
a
Giant.
I looked at this. I was like, "There's 9 teams on this list that he was never a
Is
Giant."
that everybody? Are we good?
You got the. Or there's one more in the top 10.
Oh my God!
White Sox.
McDowell. Beret. Burley.
Mark Burley. Kershaw's 11th. Kurt Schilling is 12th. Okay. Jamie Moyer, 13th.
All right, enough.
And Doc Holliday, 14th. These are the guys who had 100 starts without issuing a walk.
Very good. Let's get totally tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Totally tubular. Tonight, Orioles, Dodgers open up a 3-game set in Los Angeles. And, Cole Irvin's on the mound, so they got that going for him, which is...
So are we staying up until 10 to watch Cole Irvin? Or?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, not watch the game?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
watch in the morning?
No. Well, you might, because you got to do...
Yeah.
You got to wake up. Like, that's probably going to be your plan, but I'm going to wake up. I'm going to watch it. Cole Irvin, Jack Flaherty, 10-10 on Masson 2. Also, it's on ESPN Plus in the rest of the country, and it's the MLB TV free game of the day in the rest of the country. So plenty of opportunities for you to watch it. ESPN has U.S. Open coverage throughout the course of the day. Carlos Alcaraz in action. Iga Swiatek still to come as well. Masson, Yankees, Nationals at 6:45. Thanks for nothing, Nationals. jerks. Also, TBS, Astros, Phillies, 6:40. MLB Network, Mets, Diamondbacks at 9:40. And the USA Network for WWE, NXT at 8. But, of course, you won't need any of that because you'll be with Rita and Glenn tonight, 105.7 The Fan, from 7 to 9 p.m. with special guest co-host Zach Merrick from All Time Low.
Oh,
Who's gonna hang out with us tonight. Looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Exciting.
That'll be fun. We'll, of course, react to whatever roster moves the Ravens make throughout the course of the day and get you ready for Orioles-Dodgers. Jerry Hairston's going to join us tonight. Anything else? Non-sports ones?
I mean, I can't follow that.
Yeah, how does it get bigger?
New episode of the Hard Knocks with the Bears. Untold, the Sign Stealer one. This is Connor Stallions.
The first review that I saw was interesting, but doesn't really tell you anything you didn't know.
I thought they were like saying that there's gonna be like never before seen footage or something.
I
like
just
some
don't
of his
know.
Actual...
I don't know what Untold is. I don't know what
they're like. These were phenomenons for a couple months.
I would also.
And we're gonna tell you the story.
I would also say that like it's too soon
Yeah.
for the Connors. Like this would have to be investigative for it to be worthy, and I don't trust them to do that.
We can't escape him. Adam Sandler's got a comedy special out on Netflix.
We needed that.
We gotta watch that.
that.
I thought there was something. Oh yeah. The big thing is season 4 premiere of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, that's okay. That's back.
Season 4 of that, and then that is it. The Bachelor is on, and those are your highlights.
All right, very good. Thanks today to Mike Sando. Thanks also to Gregg Rosenthal and to Bob Harris. We will get all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh, was I supposed to do the duet with you again? I don't know what we decided on that. Nah, we'll leave it. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
Drew will be here.
Oh, good.
And I believe we. Hold on, there was one more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it? But was it good or was it?
Never mind. Nothing tomorrow.
Okay.
Or Drew.
Are we gonna do fantasy?
Yes, we will do fantasy.
Okay.
Be sure tomorrow. Ravens react to the Ravens roster.
Thanks everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County. Cruise Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, the Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costa Sin, MSAA, Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.